Hello and welcome to Shoptalk with J&J Artisan Pipes. This week we are going to discuss some finish sanding.
Aye, and some comments from last week's episode.
Yeah.
So thank you all for responding.
Mm-hmm. But first, we are smoking Pirates Alley from the Country Squire in Mississippi.
I believe.
I'm going to go with Mississippi.
We're homeschooled.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mississippi. We knew that. It is a Virginia Perique, heavy on the Perique.
It's really mellow for a Perique, in
Yeah.
my opinion. I'm really surprised.
We did a little interview with the Country Squire podcast a few months ago.
Yeah, a couple months ago.
You should go find that.
Mm-hmm. It's on YouTube.
And
Country Squire Radio.
And listen
Google
to
it.
the rest of them, too.
Yeah. What else? Oh, what are we drinking?
Oh.
Come now.
Hop Slam.
Hop Slam. This is another beer that we cannot get in our state of California. It's from Michigan, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It is called Hop Slam Ale. It's ale brewed with honey.
Yeah.
Which is
good.
interesting because the pipe that I'm smoking
Hmm.
this in is actually it's a little factory pipe called Yellow Bowl, and it is the Imperial, and it says cured with real honey.
I really like that pipe.
Me too.
It's
got it.
fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of want to make one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm smoking the Reddit pipe of the year 2014 prototype. Good little shop pipe for me.
This beer, I haven't tried yet. Oh, that's hoppy.
Yeah.
It makes me hoppy.
Yeah.
I don't really taste the honey.
No,
Probably an aftertaste.
Yeah.
It'll come to me.
It's good. It's very good.
So,
We had you want to talk about the 3-pipe set now?
Yeah. So, I know it's been a while. Things have been crazy, so we haven't really gotten back on that 3-pipe set idea that we were doing about a month and a half ago, talking about.
Mm-hmm.
We were making some pipes, and we found 3 pipes that was kind of like, oh, wow, that would be kind of a nice little 3-pipe set. I'll show you. And so we've decided that that's the aesthetic that we're going to go with for sure, is kind of a black with a red undertone with an orange accent ring.
Mm-hmm.
And just regular black ebonite. So that's the aesthetic that we're going to go with. The 3 shapes we're still mulling over at the moment.
Yeah, we got the bowls pretty much figured out.
Yeah, we have the chambers decided, written down somewhere, I hope.
It's all up here.
Oh, that's comforting. So, yeah. So we'll get back to you on that.
Yep. But we're still trying to do that. And then we had a few comments about stems last week. You want to talk about the prefab stuff first?
Yeah, one question was asked, that it's kind of against the Artisan thing but wouldn't it save time to get a pre-molded acrylic stem and just make some minor tweaks?
Right.
Making minor tweaks is harder than you might think.
Well, we should qualify that. Making minor tweaks to get it to where it should be for an Artisan pipe,
right,
is harder than it seems. It's almost the same amount of work to start with the prefab stem, prefabricated, and tweak it a little bit and open up the airway and all that kind of stuff. It's about as much work as starting from scratch for us.
Yeah, it would require us designing a stem and sending it to a factory to create the mold specific for us.
Right.
And even then, the engineering of the inside would still have to be tweaked, and the outside. The problem is the length of the stem is relevant to the shape of the pipe, and every stem is different. That it's just it doesn't. It's a good thought that we thought about once for kind of lower end pipes, but
well, and I will say
it's not worth the work.
Some people do that.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say who they are, because if you can't figure it out or don't know, then it's not important. It's totally doable.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that it's about as the same amount of work for us either way. So we'd rather use the nice rod of ebonite. This is a really high quality material. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, acrylic is a whole
that's
other
the other
issue. Acrylic is not fun to work with, in our opinion. It shines up nice, it stays shiny. It's not comfortable in our opinion.
Yeah.
There's just something about the softness of ebonite in your mouth that it's just like, it's comfy.
Yeah.
And we don't like acrylic.
It just, the sound and feel that ebonite has is a lot more natural.
Like a dense wood instead of a plastic.
Right. Acrylic feels plasticky when you touch it and put it in your teeth. So we don't like that.
Yeah, which isn't, a problem per se.
No.
Anyhow.
And we also had a question from a customer of ours who wanted to know if we try and do consistent buttons or if we do proportional buttons to the pipe. So if a bigger pipe,
right?
If it was a bigger pipe, it'd have a bigger button.
And that he noticed that the pipe he got from us was a thinner saddle, thinner all around.
Yeah.
It is thinner. Artisan pipes usually are thinner and more delicate in look and aesthetics to lend a quality or beauty. Hypothetically.
Also also a comfort. It is very nice to put your mouth on something much smaller than a factory pipe.
It was put to us our first Vegas show when we had really big buttons.
Oh yeah,
it was horrible. It was put to us. It's like, you got to make your buttons thinner than that, because otherwise it's like putting a Sharpie in your mouth, and nobody wants to be smoking a pipe like they have a Sharpie in their mouth. And I was like, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
So we try and make our buttons very consistent and thin and comfortable. And that's that.
And the saddles vary due to the shape of the pipe.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Sorry, we could go on and on. Moving on.
Yeah. Let's talk about finish sanding.
Right. So this pipe that we've been working on. So the next step, once you've got your shape, your pipe together, is finish sanding. So, we'll take sandpaper and sand it up the grits.
Yep.
So, and you might ask, how many grits? It depends. You start with 220 and go up from 320, 400, 600, 1,000 if you need to. All depends.
But generally, because of the filing, and we actually move up grits in a way with the files. We start with a rough file and go to a finer file, and then scrape it like you saw last week.
Well, it's like even with the shaping wheel, it's a 36 grit. The one we have right now is a 24 grit because that's all they had. But that's beside the point. So you start with really, really low, and you go high.
Yeah. And so you can jump to 220 or probably 320, depending on how good of a job you did with the lower grits. And so then it just becomes...
So we shape. We do the final shaping with the sandpaper. What we use is a custom-made wine cork, and you wrap it around, and you can use it to just clean up the details on every little element. to finish the shape and work up the grits to make it finer and finer and smoother and smoother. And then after that comes the buffing, which is actually another working up the grits, because there are grits of that as well.
Right.
Like Tripoli's, what, like 800,000 almost? No, it's like 800.
It's like 800.
Yeah, and then like the White Rouge is like about 1,200.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're working up the grits with that as well.
Mm-hmm. And you'll see it in the footage. We do wet sanding.
Mm-hmm. That's mainly to keep the sandpaper from gunking up with the material, because if it's dry, it'll just get stuck in the grit of the sandpaper and get jammed, and it's like impossible to get out.
Yeah, but it also leaves a nicer finish.
It does.
So.
It does. Yeah, like there's a reason. There's wet sandpaper.
Yeah. But the main thing here is to be thorough, because there's almost nothing worse in the world than finishing the pipe, finishing the stem. You've buffed it and it's super shiny. Then you look at it a little closer, and there's scratches from a couple grits ago.
400. And it's like, no. Yeah, so you have to go back to 400 and work your way back up.
And then you have to do the whole thing over again.
It's annoying.
Yeah. So this is a little tedious, but this is part of why this is difficult. Mm-hmm. And getting a good finish on a stem is a skill. And were we going to talk about finishing smooth pipes?
Yes, we were, because this one's going to end up being a sandblast because of the pit on the side here. I wish it could have been smooth, but
would have been a great one.
Right. So we're going to talk about sandblasting next week. But we'll just, because we're talking about sanding and finish sanding, we'll go ahead and talk about what you would do with a smooth. It's the same thing. You just work up the grits.
Yeah.
By hand. You don't use a cork. But, I mean, you could, I guess, but it's not as practical. So you just sand it. You start with 220 or 150 if you have to get the little divots out from the French wheel and work your way up the grits. And briar is a little bit more of a pain in the butt when it comes to working up the grits, because 220 can leave deep gouges.
Right. And it's much more difficult to see them.
It is. And so you can do the shape with 220 perfectly fine. Then you go to 320 and it looks beautiful. And then you go 400 and you buff it. And then you're like, holy crap, there's 220 scratches still. And you have to go back. So you have to be very thorough, and it can be annoying. But there you have it. So it's the exact same thing, except you don't wet sand it. You dry sand it.
Right.
Because it's wood.
Right. And then comes the staining and buffing. But
Which
that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, which we'll tap into when we actually do the staining on this in a week or two.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there you have it. Right. Next week we'll be prepping this for sandblasting, and discussing how you prep for sandblasting, because this one's a little unique, but we'll explain the differences next week, and we'll actually be blasting it next week. So you will see the almost finished pipe.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Hope you enjoy it.
Yes. Make sure that you are in Chicago on April 29th through May 2nd.
Be square.
Something like that. Book your flights and hotels. Do not miss it. We will be angry if you are not there. And actually, as we ramp up towards Chicago, you should definitely sign up for the newsletter, because
you'll be seeing little peeks of what we'll be taking and stuff, because we don't really post too much about what we're actually taking.
Except for the people in the newsletter.
Right. So
there
you go. Also, we finally got Facebook back online.
Mm-hmm.
We are now a business page, which means we cannot instigate conversation with you guys on Facebook. You guys will have to start conversations with us, and then we can respond. if you happen to get a message, if anyone who watches this, if you get a message from John B. Close with a K, that's me, because we can't contact you via J&J's Facebook. So, and Jared deleted his Facebook a while back. Yeah. I wanted to,
but as always, Instagram is the best place for a visual representation of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And YouTube.
We've been slacking this last week, but we post every day on Instagram something that's going on. So
yeah,
it's kind of like the extra curricular information that you can get from these podcasts.
Yeah,
I guess. I don't know.
All right,
we ramble. Holy snap! This is a long episode.
Okay, we will see you next week for sandblasting and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So happy smoking.
Ciao.